eat. Right before you eat. Did your computer go on? No. There. You got it.
All right, girls, thank you all for being here. And thanks to Deb and Bob Shaw for all they've done to make this fixed up community. I'm a crier and I apologize. I'll do my best, but I did come prepared. So I am Tammy Barras. I am a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter and a sister. And I'm the president of the Plastic Injection Molding Company. And just under 2 years ago, I became something I never imagined, a stroke survivor. Like many of you, my life changed overnight. And what I've learned is to be hopeful and to find something to be grateful for, because there's always something to be grateful for. And words matter. They make a difference. Never give up. So Friday, October 13th, 2023 was just a typical day. I had a mild cold, but I went to work, came home, had dinner with my husband. A bit later, I went to bed. A few hours later, I woke up coughing. The coughing caused a severe headache. It was so terrible that I was unable to lay back down. I had no other stroke symptom by the time, but my husband and I quickly realized that something was terribly wrong. We called 911, and they got there very quickly. But by the time I was on the gurney and in the rig, my face was drooping and my speech was slurring. En route to the hospital, I heard the paramedic say, "She's stroking out on me, she's stroking out on me." And that's pretty much the last thing I remember for a few weeks. I was immediately admitted to Kaiser Cottle, where I received CT scans and other stabilizing treatment. The next day, I was transferred to the Kaiser Neural ICU in Redwood City, where I stayed for about 2 weeks. I had had a massive hemorrhagic stroke in my right basal ganglia, which caused severe swelling in my brain. The swelling caused my brain to shift approximately half an inch to the left of midline. They worked hard to stabilize me and the swelling. During this time, I was blessed to be surrounded by my family. This journey would have been so much more difficult without them. Sorry. But then the hard work really began. When I was well enough, they transferred me to Kaiser Stroke Rehab Center, KFRC. Surprisingly, at this time, I was unaware of how impaired I was. I did not realize that I could not walk. I did not realize that my left arm wasn't working. I remained at KFRC Rehab for 18 days. Completed a very intensive daily program of PT, OT, and speech therapy at KFRC with the support of my parents and husband. We worked diligently on my therapies, teaching me to walk again to improve my cognitive abilities, and attempted to reactivate my left arm. At the time, I was convinced I would wake up one morning and all would be fine. At this point, I was 4 weeks into my journey, and I still didn't truly understand the challenges ahead of me. In fact, I clearly remember one of my physical therapists telling me how happy she was when one of her prior patients came in after 3 years, and she could finally walk and use her arm again. And I thought to myself, 3 years? How in the world am I going to make it 3 years? And yet here I am 2 years later, still working, still struggling, and still moving forward on this path. I was released from KFRC Rehab a few days before Thanksgiving 2023. And as you can imagine, I was very grateful to be out of the hospital after more than a month. Even at the time, I was not yet cleared to walk without a trained PT. We had a small and grateful Thanksgiving day with my close family. However, the next day I wasn't feeling well and was having a hard time catching my breath. We ended up having to call 911 again. Sorry. We discovered that I had a massive blood clot in my lungs, saddling my heart. This created yet another life or death situation for me and required an emergency thrombectomy the day after Thanksgiving. However, as you can imagine, this also created quite the quandary for the doctors, as its typical treatment for blood clots is blood thinners, and with a hemorrhagic stroke, we didn't want to start that up again. So I had to spend another week in ICU as they decided how best to treat me. Meanwhile, I prayed and prayed as I was terrified my brain would bleed again, causing more damage. When they started the IV blood thinners, I felt God reassure me with the words, "It's okay, it's healing medicine." Thankfully, they chose the proper medication, and I had no further issues. I have learned so many lessons over the past 2 years. I would say the most important lesson is the impact of being surrounded by the love of family, friends, and work associates, and not appreciating it as deeply as I should have before my stroke. I can say that I've been extremely blessed through my journey to be surrounded by family and friends who have loved, supported, and encouraged me. For that, I am forever grateful. My husband Larry and I had only been married for 5 years when I had my stroke. Being my caretaker was certainly not in our plans. But he has stepped up and carried the load gracefully, kindly, and with a ton of love. My son moved back to California from Colorado to be near me. And since I'm not yet strong enough to travel on my own, last August he even accompanied me on a business trip to Indiana, where I was appointed president of the board of directors for MAP. It was a huge honor and even more of a blessing to have my son there. My mom, dad, brother, son, and daughter regularly take me on adventure days to broaden my day-to-day experiences. It could be anything: a lunch at the beach, a train ride, or a wheelchair hike. Bring in my wheelchair. Through the redwood trees, or visiting the aquarium, or just getting our nails done. You never know what an adventure day will bring, other than a special time together. It's so easy to take life for granted when you're just living it day to day. You don't realize how hard it is to do the little things, like walk up a stair. Who knew it'd be so challenging to take one step up? Or give somebody a hug, or even button your shirt, or hang up your shirt with one hand. You don't think about it when you can do it, but when you can't, you realize how lucky you are. I thank God every day that I still have my right side. I'm able to do as much as I can. Slowing down and concentrating on the little things has shown me how much I have taken for granted and how blessed I am. Today I watch people walking past me, and I often think to myself, if only they knew how lucky they are and how hard it is to truly walk. But then I remember that it's not their lesson, it's mine. I have had to learn to be patient and slow down and literally concentrate on each step so I can stay safe. As I mentioned earlier, at the time of my stroke, I was working full-time as the president of a plastic injection molding company. Thankfully, I had a strong team in place when I got sick. They were able to take over and run the company for me for the 6 weeks or so that I was out. Gratefully, I am still able to perform my duties as president now. However, upon my return to work, there was a lot of disruption and turmoil because they didn't think I was ready to come back. But I was ready to come back. I needed to come back. I am different than I was before, but I'm still totally capable of doing the job. In fact, my doctor told me these inspiring words. Do not sit home and be a vegetable. Go out and do things. So I pushed myself to return to work with limitations. Instead of working 50 to 60 hours a week, I now work just 2 4-hour days in the office. The other 3 days, I work remotely from home. I limit my interactions with customers and allow my team to carry the load, so I still have the energy to work on my recovery. And it is work. Every one of you know that. It's not exercise. You don't go home and do your exercises. You go home and you work on your recovery. So it's all been an enormous learning process for me, and I have had to accept what my new limitations are because my brain is different. My thinking process is different. Previously, I can hold multiple conversations and type fluently without any issues. Now I am unable to do that. For one, typing is very challenging with one hand, and additionally, my brain cannot currently handle multiple tasks like it did in the past. Therefore, I've had to learn to manage within my new capabilities. But I've also learned the importance of words and how strong they are to your brain. If your brain hears or thinks something, that your mind believes it to be true. So it's very important to stay as positive as possible and not limit yourself. From an early age, my father taught me, you can be cold, wet, and miserable, or you can just be cold and wet. The choice is up to you. And you'll hardly ever find me saying I can't do something. I'll mention that my left arm isn't working right now, or I'm unable to at this time. But I won't say I can't do it. I just can't do it yet, but I will. I will continue work, and I will have confidence that I will continue to get better. It'll be slower than I want. But slow progress is better than no progress. A few weeks ago, I was telling my daughter about my last physical therapy session and how well it had gone. I said, Katie, I'm on me faster and more stable. To which she replied, nobody said you had to be able to ask all. We just like you up on your 2 feet. One of the most challenging things I've had to learn is to ask for help. I was a very independent, strong woman before my stroke. I am still a strong woman, but I have new limitations I'm working through. I did have to learn to ask for help during my recovery. One day I was upset because I needed help showering, and my husband shared a story with me that he had learned as a child. Helping someone is the way to say I love you. Please let me show my love for you. Going back to my physical therapy journey, as I mentioned, it has been much longer than anticipated. Yet here I am still working on it. I've had at least 8 different physical therapists in the last 2 years. Started at KFRC for 18 days, then transitioned to home PT and OT for about 8 weeks. After that, I was transferred to in-house neurophysical therapy at Kaiser Coddle. I worked with them for about 8 months before they determined that I had adapted and reached my capabilities. I'm glad they thought I had adapted because I didn't. So they stopped seeing me at Kaiser Coddle Rehab. I wasn't done. I looked for other options and pushed Kaiser to allow me to do so. I reached out to Luna Therapy and found Shana. And I've been working with Shana for the last few months. I also followed it with my physical medicine doctor who is responsible for my rehab. I let her know that I wasn't done. So she allowed for more physical therapy at Kaiser, and I was able to return and receive additional therapies through them. I've also learned how important it is to advocate for yourself. You know what's best for you, not them. They have their insurance guidelines they're trying to meet. Every day I continue to search for new therapies. I found one that Kaiser is not yet approved yet, but I'm working on an appeal to get the IPSY hand for my left arm. According to the studies I read, it seems to have very positive results. I'm hopeful that I can make that happen soon. Going back to the importance of words. In the beginning of my journey, the doctors told me that where I was at about 6 months post-stroke, that's where I'd be. They're wrong. I have continued to improve after 6 months. And then at the 6-month mark, they said, no, it's after 18 months. And then in the 18 months, no, it's 24 months. No. So I'm just going with the theory that they actually had no idea what they're talking about, and my body will continue to do what it needs to do. And until then, I will keep praying, working, and striving to improve. And I will remember to be grateful and to be here with the abilities that I have. God is good and He has answered prayers. In conclusion, it has been an unexpected journey with many opportunities to learn and grow. I intentionally appreciate my friends and family's support now, where before it was just taken for granted. Everybody had it. You didn't really think about it. And I remember that there is always something to be grateful for. And it is okay to ask for help. People want to help you, and it's okay. And your words matter to yourself and to those around you. And never give up, and always advocate for yourself, because you know what's best for you. Thank you for listening to my story.